Okay, let's do this fucking shit.
Hello, guests, and welcome to the premiere episode of Doomsday Poppers. I am Carlos, and with me is my co-host, my bro, Roman Brolansky, Nancy Brolosi, and for all you film buffs out there, Josh Brolin from Bro Country for Old Men. I would have used Brokeback Mountain, but that would have sent the wrong message. And my partner is, of course, my co-host, Bernie.
Hello, ladies and gents. This is Bernie, the Madman.
So for those of you who haven't, first-time viewers of this podcast, haven't listened to one before, basically it's just me and my co-host here, waxing poetic, talking about all sorts of topics from cryptids to wherever the conversation takes us.
Doomsday theories, you name it.
No prep needed, no background research before you click the start button. You're just along for the ride.
Yep.
So what's our first topic today?
Well, Carlos, I think we got to start with one of the best topics that we have ever discussed offline. Remember that conversation we had about the Mothman?
Oh yes, the Mothman. Speaking of, Mothman sightings are up like 400%. So
wait,
something's going on there.
Did you tell me that last time?
Yeah.
400% compared to what?
Compared to recent, the average year, how many times people see the Mothman, or people report seeing the Mothman.
That's okay. Just for context, people. My brother here, Carlos, he is a lawyer, and I am an engineer. So most of the time, when we're discussing topics, we are going to be referring back to our conventional scientific training to try to figure out in our minds what makes sense, what doesn't, discussing henceforth, and if a little bit of BS spills over, well, take it with a huge grain of salt. So today's topic, Mothman and premonitions, right? Because Mothman is a supposed cryptid that can somehow manipulate people's perceptions of it. Is that correct?
Yes, and also he is considered, or it is considered to be an omen.
An omen.
An omen, a bad omen. So if you see Mothman,
kind of like a black cat.
Correct.
All right, so let's start from the beginning. Mothman is supposedly, from the very brief reading that I've done on the Mothman in the years past, like when I was 15 and really into cryptids, Mothman is agreeably one of the tallest cryptids out there.
Correct. He could definitely play basketball if he wanted to.
He also appears mostly at night.
Yes.
And has a huge wingspan.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And that's part of the reason why there are no real detailed descriptions of him. Mainly it's a nighttime sighting.
And huge red eyes.
Yes, huge red eyes. Those are really the standard things that people see when they report seeing the Mothman.
Okay, something that I want to clarify from as early as possible. Are these red eyes glowing in the dark, or are they reflective red eyes? As in, you flash a light and you can see the eyes, or you can just see them in the dark. Which one is it?
You can definitely see them in the dark from what
so
people
it's
have
like
reported.
two big LEDs.
Yes.
In the night.
Yes. No, they are not bouncing back light shined on them.
Dude, this is already ridiculous to me.
Yeah.
I right off the bat, I'm telling you, I don't believe this.
Well, I've got a little theory.
Okay.
I've been kicking it in my head a little bit.
Okay, so continuing on, because we do need to give some context in case some of you viewers, if we have any, don't know what the Mothman is, and apparently its first sighting was somewhere in the East Coast, right? Do you know the town?
West Virginia.
West Virginia?
Mm-hmm.
And it was two couples that were just driving down the road, and then all of a sudden, this thing just pops up.
Yes.
And chases after them in a car, flying right next to them.
Correct.
Did it screech? Did it give like a sound of any sort?
Well, the witnesses report no sound. It was just
No sound.
silently flying through the air.
Did it flap its wings at all?
You know what? I'm not exactly sure on that.
You see, this is the kind of information that would be critical to the conversation. Okay, so after that, how many times has it been seen?
How many times has it reported to have been seen?
Yeah.
In America?
Yes.
Few dozen.
A few dozen?
Yeah.
That's it?
Yeah.
That's not much, considering that it's a crypt.
It's been around for like 50 years or so.
Okay. So, okay. Now, let's consider this. You said you had a theory.
Yeah.
Is this based on the premonition aspect of it, or the supernatural aspect of the Mothman?
It's based on the premonition part, but it's not a supernatural theory.
Supernatural theory.
Yeah. So, basically, the Mothman, he is an omen of bad luck, bad news, you know, and that kind of stems from a bridge collapse that occurred right when Mothman was there, like right before. People were seeing him a lot, bridge collapsed, a bunch of people died.
You're kidding.
But it kind of expands from there. So, I think there were a few other incidents where the Mothman, you know, was around. People reported a spike in seeing him. Bad stuff happened.
Do you have like specific examples? I made absolutely no more reading on this so that you could surprise me.
Well, it would be interesting. I think it would interest you to hear that Russia has a Mothman.
No.
Russia has a Mothman. They call him the Birdman, but he is described very similarly to the Mothman. Glowing red eyes, super tall, wings.
Well,
And-
Russia is kind of like the backwater of Europe. Sorry, Putin, please don't kill me. Anyways, wait, I think I know this. Isn't the Mothman in Russian known as the Black Bird? Or something like that?
Yes, the Black Bird, the Birdman, there's a number of names for him. And interestingly enough, he's also an omen of bad news.
In Russia.
In Russia, he appeared before the Chernobyl disaster. There was a spike in the area of people seeing the Birdman or the Black Bird, or you know that fiction of that creature.
And he was
in
seen
Russia.
before the events?
Before the events,
Not after.
not after. So I guess it got nothing to do with radiation. You know, nothing to do with like an owl getting dosed in radiation and mutating or anything like
Okay,
that.
first of all, the people who say... I'm sure that there's people who think that Mothman is a product of radiation and mutations. But I gotta tell you something, people. I don't know if you have taken biology in your life. Mutations don't work like the Ninja Turtles, okay? It's not that you get dosed in x-rays and all of a sudden you can grow 4 limbs and start beating up dudes and taking off their arms. No, that's not the case. It takes millions of years for a beneficial mutation to happen. Any other type of mutation from, let's say, radiation poisoning will kill you. More likely than not. Or it will just slowly eat away your body with cancer. So an owl transforming into an owl within what, a couple hundred years of radiation poisoning from either Chernobyl or the USA nuclear testing, not gonna happen, boys and girls. So if it's not that, then what is it? And I guess this is the theory.
Well, the other major event that's been reported is the Moscow apartment bombings. Essentially,
Wait,
there
what?
were a terrorist attack on this apartment complex, killed 2,000 people,
2000.
bombed it to the ground. And I'm not asking for any, you know, and I'm not asking for any I'm not asking for any polonium poisoning or to be gassed with a nerve agent, but that was done by Vladimir Putin. So
He will clearly deny this.
I'm thinking, as a theory, what if Mothman is Vladimir Putin?
You...
I've never seen them in the same room together. But look,
This is your theory?
on a more serious note.
Okay, good.
What if Mothman is a Russian psyop by the Russian government?
A psyop.
Yeah.
Kind of like a drone?
No, like a psychological operation to mess
Oh.
with people's heads. If you think about it, it started during the Cold War, right?
very small town in the middle of the eastern United States.
But that is proof of concept, man. Like, they were just trying to prove that they could do it, and they can unleash that weapon to create chaos.
But why would they?
Anytime they wish.
But why would they specifically go for a bridge? Are they just having the thing show up so that people get scared?
Correct.
And think that there's something else going on, supernatural.
Correct.
When in truth it's just
Yes,
them instilling that seed of fear.
To scare. That's the whole
Just to
reason
scare.
for it. To scare the
The
populace and create instability. Because
kind of like Caesar
Moscow
did back in
apartment
the
bombing, right? And then right before Chernobyl, and then it appears in the U.S. in Point Pleasant, West Virginia.
Oh, it's in Point Pleasant.
Yeah.
Oh, this would explain so much.
That's where most of the sightings. That's where the epicenter of the sightings are.
Point Pleasant.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So what if this is all some Russian operation, and they have Mothman basically in reserve, ready to unleash on the American populace, and that would explain why the sightings have been up lately too. They're starting to, we're starting to use this weapon.
But is it really effective? Because nobody has died from a Mothman sighting. Nobody has reportedly been attacked by the Mothman either. If it's a psychological weapon, it's kind of a poor one.
Well, its main function is as an omen, right? People see Mothman and think, what's going to happen?
But not everybody believes in the Mothman. For example, I don't believe in the Mothman, first of all. I give you my reasons. First of all, as a person who has watched a lot of Batman films, and Bruce Wayne, if you're hearing this, please send me some money. I need it for my college funds. Mothman seems to be, if I'm being honest, from what I remember years ago, a little bit more of a stunt from Point Pleasant people to try to get some, touristic revenue going every year. Because from what I remember, they have a statue of the thing. They have an entire economy based on selling memorandum and little toys of Mothman. So I don't know. To me, that just sounds a little bit like a too much of a coincidence. And second of all, the thing suspiciously sounds a lot like the Batman.
Well, that's an interesting point, because Mothman was a character in Batman.
What?
In the Batman comics, there was a supervillain
Called Mothman.
called Mothman, part man, part moth, and Batman would fight him.
Wait, is this before Mothman or after Mothman?
Before. So a lot of people think that that's what kind of influenced people to think that there was a Mothman. People who read the comics saw something that has a complete logical reasoning behind it, but thought, holy crap, that's Mothman. But that is a potential, and has been argued as a potential source behind the myth. But what that doesn't address is the whole Russia aspect.
But
Where does the great bird, where does the Birdman come from?
well, the Russians are not they
They're drunk on vodka. You can say.
It's not that. Like, I was gonna say that the Mothman over there is not known as the Mothman, it's known as Birdman, which means that they probably attributed, somebody saw the wings or possibly some feather-like attributes and named him the Birdman, while people here in America call this creature a Mothman. You see what I'm going, Carlos? Like, there's just a little bit of a difference in terms of what the possibility could be, in terms of appearance and description of the creature. And that's major, because if you cannot pinpoint the similarities, except for the fact that they're huge, they are colored black, they appear under cover of darkness, that's barely enough. There's a lot of things that could cover that, Probably somebody in Russia heard about this from Point Pleasant and say, this is a good prank, and just happened to go around Chernobyl. Also, that's not my Russian accent. It's like, never mind. That's it's gonna come out exactly the same. So you see what I mean? Like, it could be not causation.
Well, I've never been to Russia, right? But my thought is, do they have moths in Russia?
Yeah.
Because if they saw a moth but they didn't have any understanding of what a moth was. They just think, oh, that's a giant bird.
Yeah,
you
my
know?
friend Derek, when he lived in Russia, he told me that one of the houses had a moth infestation problem.
Okay.
So
Okay.
it is they do exist. I mean, it's not like it's just, but that's the other thing. Like, how much of moth is actually Mothman?
Well,
Because the
that's-
wings don't. When I see pictures of it, the wings just don't seem like they are moth. They seem like they are more, crow or
Yeah.
eagle.
Yeah, and this might be a Birdman or a Batman or something like that. But I think part of the reason is people were influenced by Batman, this villain.
Yeah, because it's cloaked in darkness.
Yeah.
But
So
the other
they
thing.
saw it and they think, hey, that looks like that character I saw in that comic last month.
Yeah, but
you know what I mean?
Yeah, but the other thing is, why the red eyes? I mean, if they are already glowing in the dark, that's really unnatural. There's no other creature on Earth except for a couple of variants in the deep oceans of fish and eel that have glowing eyes. But even then, they're not fully functional.
Well, going back to my theory, it's to scare people. That's
Yeah.
the whole point.
So you think it's actually like a technology of some sort?
Yes.
But what kind of technology? Because if it's glowing, it has to have some physical attributes. It cannot just be a hallucinogen.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So try to explain that in your theory.
Well, I know they brought Tupac back with holograms, right?
Oh my gosh.
So I'm wondering if this is some kind of a
Are you
hologram
also a
situation.
Tupac hologram believer?
Yes, I know they have been doing there have been concerts with hologram.
Oh, you're
Tupac.
referring to those.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the conspiracy theory.
No.
Okay.
So I'm thinking they might be doing this Mothman with holograms.
Okay, but where does the premonition aspect of the Mothman come in?
Well, they're doing it to scare people, so they run Mothman around town for a few months, and then they blow up a bridge. Right?
Doesn't he give people like nightmares and visions of the Mothman too? Like, what's up with that?
Well, if I saw Mothman, I'd probably be having nightmares afterwards too. Right?
Okay.
I don't know. I don't think there has to be anything supernatural or anything planned. You know, it's just a scary ass flying animal that's like 8 foot tall with glowing red eyes.
It's 8 feet tall.
Yeah, it's super tall.
I thought it was like 6 feet, and that's it.
No,
So this is a
taller than-
big boy.
big boy. I also wonder if it could be somebody in some kind of a suit.
A really
That's
tall man in a
another
suit.
theory. Some kind of a flying suit to make him look like Mothman.
A flying suit back in what, the 60s was this?
Yeah.
Yeah, not likely. Sorry to say.
I think there's a lot of technology out there that we don't really know about. You know.
Are you referring to alien stuff?
No.
People have theorized that Mothman is some kind of alien.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think of that?
He could be an alien. I mean, my theory is just that theory. There's no evidence behind it, besides a bunch of suspicious stuff linking Russia to the Mothman. But I can't. There's no proof that Mothman even exists, so it could be anything.
Well, frankly, most of the things that we're discussing in this show cannot be proven,
Yeah.
whether we like it or not. So it's kind of like pissing in the air, really.
So to go in another direction, kind of, what do we think of the whole omen thing? Ignoring my theory or other theories.
I think it's coincidence.
Do we think that Mothman is trying to warn people, or is it some kind of a manifestation of the event itself?
If he's trying to warn people, then he's acting a little bit too much like an asshole.
Yeah.
Just saying, because one, he's very tall, very what's the word here? Imposing.
Mm-hmm.
Why not just leave a note or something? He seems to be sapient in some way or another. If he's able to give off these premonitions and to know what's going to happen.
Well, he doesn't leave a note because do moths have fingers? They can't write.
He has feet. I'm assuming he has feet. Does he walk? Like, have people seen him walk?
People have seen him. I don't. No. People have not seen him walk. He mostly just stands there and then he flies. That's all he does.
Nobody has seen them
but
walk.
Is he capable of leaving a note? Like if Mothman was backing up at the grocery store and backed into your car, would he leave a note? Or would he be like, shit, I cannot leave a note. I'm physically incapable of leaving a note.
That's going through his mind. Shit,
Yeah.
I can't leave a note.
What do I do here? do I stick around for 2 hours waiting for the person to come back?
Oh, so the next best thing is to just fly around the area where this is gonna happen. But that's the other thing. Did he know that the core of Chernobyl was going to destabilize because 3 people decided to really screw it all up? How did he know that?
The idea is that he somehow can predict the future.
So he is a multi-dimensional creature.
I suppose. That's just the idea behind it. The other idea is that it might be a manifestation of the event itself.
Dude, I drew the line at the red glowing eyes.
Yeah.
Multi-dimensional jumping. Out of...
So
I don't know. You have to convince me.
So the other idea is that certain events somehow cause Mothman to appear before they happen.
With no apparent positive consequence because all of that happened anyway.
Yes, it's just another symptom of the event.
Another symptom.
Yes. So with the bridge collapse, is, you know, all kinds of people die. Like it's all kinds of things happen.
Yeah, how many people did die in that accident or in that instance?
I'd really have to look that up.
But not more than 100 or so.
Yeah.
Not saying that it's okay for less than 100 people to die at a single time, but and Chernobyl obviously was a major catastrophe. What other
Moscow
instances?
apartment bombings?
Okay, so that is definitely
Major catastrophe.
How many people died in that instance?
2,000.
Okay, I'm stumped. I didn't I didn't know that. So it was a full-blown terrorist attack.
Yeah.
How come it's not as publicized?
Because it happened in Russia.
How long ago?
Do
you remember?
About when Putin took power.
You think it was his doing? Definitely then.
There's some evidence that it's his doing. We're completely anonymous, right?
Yes.
Okay, good.
I think.
Just in case, it was definitely not him. Vladimir Putin is a great man.
Yes, we love you, Vladdy.
He should be president of the U.S.
Yeah, we love you, Vladdy.
We love you.
Bring back Trump, please.
Some vodka or... I don't know, what else does Russia have?
What is your opinion on vodka? I have never seen you drink vodka. Even when we went out for my birthday.
I think I had some vodka.
No, you didn't.
It was
Did
in
you?
that mixed drink that I got.
Well, granted, I don't remember much of that night anyways, but... It's made out of potatoes, right?
Yeah. Doesn't have much flavor in my opinion. I mean, it doesn't...
I don't think it's supposed to. It's just supposed to be strong,
yeah,
right?
Just straight alcohol. Which is cool, but I don't know.
Okay,
I'm
another
more of a
idea.
gin man.
Another idea.
Yeah.
What if the Mothman is a symptom of... What is that condition called when you and other people hallucinate and see the same thing? You know that syndrome where you can see...
Foie du.
What's that?
It's in French.
Foie du?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So let's say it's that.
But how could we explain how different people saw the same thing, though? Yeah, at different times. I guess part of that's covered up by there's no real clear description of Mothman.
Yeah, there is. Big, tall, black, red eyes.
Yes, but does he have feathers? Does he have like membranes like a bat?
Well, a lot of people from the drawings I see, people think that its head is not protruding outside of its body like a normal human. It's more in shape of an owl's physical resemblance, like it's slunged into its own body, like a torpedo, if you will.
Well, I'm saying is he's kind of like Batman in that he sticks to the dark, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of hard
but
to
then
get...
again, a lot of predatory animals do that.
Yeah. And I'm not saying it's proof that he doesn't exist. I'm saying it's difficult to get a clear sight of him.
Right.
Plus, when you're terrified and running away, you're not going to be like, I'm going to stop and take a picture and take a mental picture of this dude.
Oh, do you think that the Mothman is actually scared of us? And that's why he doesn't really show up much unless there's like some commotion.
That's certainly possible.
That's so cute. Anybody there, if anybody in our future following listens to this and have artistic abilities, why don't you make us some fan art of cute Mothman? I really want to see that. I think that's cool. That's cute. I mean, Mothman sounds like it could be a cute anime character of sorts.
Yeah.
You know.
And on that same topic, if any actual cryptids are out there and want to be a guest in this podcast,
please feel free.
Leave a note in the comments, send us an email.
We're very anonymous. We are extremely open-minded.
We are very accepting.
I mean, he's a lawyer, for crying out loud. He will defend you.
We will definitely accept you into our group.
Yeah, what would we call this? A pod? I get it because it's a pod. Okay. All right. So now going back to the more physical position of the Mothman. Let's say we neglect all of the premonition and supernatural aspects of the creature. I am wondering, what if the creature itself is part of a very undocumented and unknown species of bird or humanoid? I don't know. I think that would be possible, right?
Yeah, some birds have gotten that big in the past.
Like the giant raptors from the Amazon or something like that?
In America, actually, James Audubon, if you look at his...
James who?
James Audubon. He he basically spent his time traveling around the world drawing different species of bird.
In the Americas?
Yeah, in the Americas.
As in North and South, or
Yeah.
the whole shebang?
All over. And if you look at his portfolio, there's a ton of birds that we have no idea. There's no proof that they ever actually even existed, because they presumably went extinct. So it's either he's making stuff up, or he actually saw this bird, and we went along and hunted it to extinction.
Which is very possible,
Which
because
is probably the more likely scenario, I would say. But there have been birds that have been that big, so it's definitely possible.
But Mothman is such an interesting creature because not only is he really big, which would make the act of missing him in a viewing very difficult, but if it's predatory, you would see that. You would know that something is going wrong. For example, if you have cattle somewhere in Point Pleasant where it seems to like it. I'm assuming that Point Pleasant has agriculture and an agricultural tradition of some sort. I don't know.
I think they're more like coal miners down there.
Okay, so even if he's eating cattle, you would notice that. If he's eating people, you would notice that for sure.
What if he lives in the mines? What if he lives in an abandoned coal mine? That would point towards more of a bat or even a moth type situation. But
what? How does he survive? Like, what does he eat, or it, or she? Oh yeah, I forgot to say. Mothman, I think, is not a... I don't think it's culturally up to par. It could be a she, for all we know. Okay?
Assuming it even has a gender. We've only ever seen one Mothman. It's possible that we've seen different
Should we just call it a
Mothman
moth person?
at different times. Okay. Right? But we've never seen two in the same place, so I'm thinking that there's only one Mothman. Which would gender even be?
They could be solitary, like most predatory species of animals, with the exception of foxes and lions. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Well,
Possible.
Okay, let's say it's vegetarian.
Yeah.
Why, evolutionarily speaking, transform into this huge-ass monstrosity? I mean, granted, it happens with elephants, right? They get really big on eating just some vegetation, and most of the biggest animals on Earth are vegetarian, which would explain the size. But then again, what would it eat in Point Pleasant? I don't know Point Pleasant to be an agricultural or to have particularly rich soil.
Well, not really going on your vegetarian idea, but moths and bats eat bugs, right?
So it just opens its mouth and catches bugs as it flies?
Possibly.
That's so cute. Can you add that to the art, please? And maybe have my face... Actually, you don't know what my face looks like. And maybe add, like, Vladimir Putin's face on the Mothman and have the bugs the faces of, like, famous American politicians. Whenever you hear this, whoever it is.
I'm not sure how we got on this topic.
I just like watching people's art depictions of...
How did we get here?
How did we get here? Where do we go?
Yeah.
How do we get here?
So are we closing the book on Mothman, or...
No, dude, there's
Okay.
so much more to talk about.
Alright. Yeah.
For instance, how the hell... Okay, this is my other theory. Have you ever talked to somebody who's extremely high?
Yeah.
Have you seen a group of them together?
I don't think I ever have.
Okay, when I was in high school, one of my bros decided to start telling a story on something that he saw the other night that looked kind of like a dog, and he said it was a chupacabra. Then when he started describing the creature as, generic dog, somebody else said, "Dude, I saw that too. That must be the chupacabra, man. It's around." And they started actually freaking out. So I'm thinking, what if these couples did see something, like maybe they flashed their headlights at a barn owl with an albino red owl with red eyes. It glows, and all of a sudden one of them said, "It's a huge black thing with wings with red eyes," and the other person, who is also extremely high, agree on that because they don't have any other reference and their mind is not capable of actually, critically thinking of what's going on, and they freak out and everybody says, "Okay, we saw this thing." You know what I mean? Drugs can do a number on you.
Yeah.
And we don't know what they took because, back in the 60s, we had a major drug revolution.
Yeah.
So I think that's my more reasonable answer for that.
So you're wondering if did anybody test these people for drug use?
Yeah, but back then, who's gonna test? And also, why would they come to the police? Because they did. I think they have the documented descriptions from these people in the police reports. None of them went to jail, but none of them are going to say, "Yeah, we got super high before we did." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. That's where I'm drawing my line.
Yeah. Well, a few of the occasions people have called the cops immediately when seeing Mothman. Which,
but
if they
these
were
guys
high,
didn't.
If they were high or under the influence of something, would they really have done that to have the cops show up right away?
Well, this was back in the day when it just started, so I doubt that they would have that stigma of not going straight to the police because they're high. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And plus, Point Pleasant back then, I think, was a smaller town. Kind of like the place we live at now, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So maybe, because they knew each other, they didn't have to fear for that kind of judgment, and they didn't even need to bring it up.
So let me ask you
Riddle
this.
me
Let
that.
me ask you this. If Mothman was listening right now, what would you say to him?
Look, I don't want to be a poor disciple here, a poor apostle, but in this case, I do have to say I need to see to believe. So if Mothman, you're hearing this, I would like to talk to you. Don't scare me. I like my life as it is. Just show yourself, say hi, wave me, and then fly away. It would certainly help your reputation as a quote-unquote benevolent being that possesses the ability to see in the future and warn people. That's what I would say. I don't find... Look, it's not that I don't believe in the Mothman because I have a fear that it's gonna be real. It's really because the evidence for the existence of such a thing is just it's null to me. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
What would you say to it?
I would say keep on hiding and don't show your face. Because the minute...
Keep hiding.
The more he comes out, or he or she or it comes out, the higher risk it gets captured in some way. And
possibly tortured.
And tortured and killed and then analyzed by the U.S. government to try and make...
If they haven't done so already.
Make enough to try and weaponize it.
Do you think they captured the Mothman already?
Or if it is a Russian psychological operation, I would say come out and get caught. So those are my two answers. Depends on the true nature of Mothman.
Well, in that case, then Mothman only speaks Russian or or Hungarian.
Yeah.
Either one.
Yeah.
And I think this brings us back a little bit because I did remember reading something about the Men in Black showing up right after a sighting of the Mothman. And we're probably gonna cover a separate podcast on the Men in Black, but I did want to ask you: do you think the Men in Black are involved?
In the Mothman?
Yeah,
it's possible.
Because people have seen the Men in Black asking them questions or asking other people questions regarding seeing the creature, but
I think the Men in Black definitely exist.
As kind of a protective organization?
I don't know what their nature is. I don't know who they are, but multiple people have said after witnessing cryptids or stuff that they're not supposed to see. right?
Yeah.
That the Men in Black visit them and basically threaten them.
So the movie Men in
Extraditing
Black
things.
with Will Smith is based on a real. I wouldn't say real, but on a alleged organization that does exist.
Yes, the movie Men in Black is based on a organization that is supposed to exist that people say, or I'm not even sure if it's an organization, but people have reported seeing men in black suits. They always wear black sunglasses, basically in all in black, come and interrogate them about various supernatural things that they see and witness, and also intimidate them into not saying anything more to anybody else. And I think it's possible that the
So
movie,
how do we know about them then?
the movie Men in Black is propaganda. The Men in Black are behind that to give themselves a good reputation. That is a possibility.
I'm willing.
Because if you look at the people who report seeing the Men in Black, they're kind of assholes. Like,
Are they?
yeah, they're not friendly. It's not Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones. Oh, hey, how are you? It's they definitely lean on you. In order
Intimidating?
in order to get you to not talk about seeing Bigfoot or UFOs or whatever you see.
No way.
So I think they exist. I'm not sure what their nature is, who they work for. No.
Okay, this is kind of creeping me out, man. I thought that the Men in Black was only a movie, and then when somebody mentioned this, I thought they were referring to.
No, the Men in Black predate the movie as far back as people seeing supernatural stuff exist. The Men in Black exist.
So basically, all the way back to ancient Egyptian times.
As far back as people reporting in modern times seeing supernatural stuff. I'm not sure if they exist in ancient Egyptian times. I haven't seen them carved into a pyramid or anything. And I'm not sure if they would still wear black suits, because would they wear black robes? Be more time and era appropriate. I think that's
Just hide
been a
stuff
possibility.
into submission.
Yeah. So, you're wondering if they can be linked to the Mothman somehow?
Well, yeah, because after Point Pleasant, I mean, personally, I've never even heard of the Mothman, to be honest. I just read on him once, and I thought it was bullshit, like some kind of those creepy pasta videos. That's really all I thought it was, just somebody inventing a Slender Man, basically, retroactively. I didn't think it was a real thing.
It's a real thing.
Okay, but now that I know that, and that the Men in Black are supposedly real, I'm really wondering. Actually, let me ask you something first. Percentage of somebody even running into the Mothman by creating a crisis situation themselves.
Well, the Mothman appears before the situation.
Before. So there's no way of actually.
So
forcing.
what you could do is plan to create a crisis situation, like
And he should show up.
not half-ass it, not like I'm just gonna write down these plans, like really go all the way into it.
So the Mothman is having a list of things that you have done and checked out, like, this is not half-assed.
If it truly is him predicting the future, and the event does not actually happen in the future, it won't work. So if you just sit around saying, I'm gonna write down some plans, and you never actually have any intent to actually do anything, it's not gonna work. And I think it is getting a little bit too far into advocating for terrorism than I am comfortable with. If anybody's listening out there, do not.
We're not terrorists. I'm just a poor engineer, and he's just a poor lawyer.
Do not actually do anything with the hopes
we
of
barely have
getting
enough
the
to
Mothman
eat.
to appear. The Mothman probably does not exist.
Also, we don't think the Mothman is Vladimir Putin, but if it is, please, Vladdy, I love you. There is another question I have for you.
Sure.
So if the Mothman... So you said sometime before that the Mothman has some kind of control on time, because it knows ahead of time what's gonna happen, or if it's a crisis situation, right?
That's one of the explanations.
That it's a transdimensional creature.
That it can somehow see the future.
Okay. I wonder if anybody has had a sighting of the Mothman during World War II. You know what I mean?
The thing is, during World War II, the media was very strictly controlled.
Yeah, but people still see stuff.
Exactly, and it's certainly possible that people saw stuff in World War II, but how would you know about it? You see a story in the paper, you hear a story on the radio about the Mothman. If the government didn't want people knowing about the Mothman, the media was very strictly controlled back then, during the war.
So it's just easily as snuff it out.
You had to run all stories, through the government. You had to run all stories that were related to the war, to the government. So it's possible that they could have said, don't report on this Mothman stuff.
Right, but we're talking about Cold War era, where I think that was the golden age of espionage in terms of the two major powers, Russia and the United States.
Yeah.
So how could something as big as the Mothman get out in a small town like Point Pleasant? If you say that there's so much control on the media, then none of that would have happened.
II. Because we were actively.
But that's what I'm saying. The Cold War was even, was pretty much an aftermath of World War II.
Yes,
it's not that things just went down.
I don't think it extended beyond when the peace treaty was signed.
The Treaty of Versailles? No, that's something else. Fuck. What was it?
The Treaty of Versailles was World War I, but
yeah. What was it? Do you remember the name of that? Guys, I love history. I just don't remember stuff very well.
So, it's certainly possible that Mothman was around during World War II.
But we have no descriptions of anybody saying that they saw it.
Yeah.
Period.
And if Mothman is some trans-dimensional being like you hypothesize, then wouldn't even matter. Like Mothman would exist at any time. Could even be Mothman running around with Tyrannosaurus Rex, and
Okay, last time you brought up this conversation and we said we should leave it for a podcast. You mentioned something about the Mothman traveling through time really, really quickly, or something like that. Remember?
No, that was electrons.
Oh, that's right. That the universe is.
There's only one electron in the entire universe. It's just got the ability to
materialize,
travel through
time,
or yeah.
Who came up with this theory again?
Some scientist.
Some asshole. Okay, so this is the reason why I want to rebuke that, and the reason why I actually ranted about it to my fellow Carlos here. If you have studied physics at all, you know that, especially electricity and Gaussian theory, you know for a fact that electrons live kind of in a cloud. That's how we can perceive them right now. We cannot really see the particles themselves. We think we're particles. We think they are particles, but we don't know exactly how they look yet. We know that they surround particles at really high speeds, and they can travel across things, giving rise to electricity. The reason why I think this is particularly stupid is because you are saying this theory is postulating that the one electron is capable of being everywhere and nowhere at the same time, because there is empty space between molecules. So it cannot be somewhere and nowhere at the same time unless you have this cat in a box type scenario. But that's a case of personal participation, not with natural science. And that's why I think it's bullshit, because there's no way for an electron to be simultaneously an all-powered elements without being a delay in between them. We would be able to see that. That's how I think it's bullshit.
What if there was one Mothman? Same kind of premise.
Just going around really fast.
He can be an omen of bad news. And I do kind of wonder if that was just a coincidence or truly an omen of bad news. But if he has some kind of control over time, it could just be one Mothman at one time, appearing in different times at the same time.
He just kind of got lost and shows up one place and happens to be everywhere else. Like, oh, poor me.
But
oops.
I think one thing we look at is Mothman predicting the future, or is he an effect of certain events?
Predicting the future.
I.e., the event happens and it causes Mothman to appear.
Or Mothman appears and causes the event to happen.
Or, yes.
It's some way.
Yeah.
Some kind of... I think the latter
Cause and
is...
effect.
I think the latter is more probable.
Yeah.
Because if he is the cause for major catastrophic events, I assume that we would have, you know, a little bit more of his presence in other events too. Like 9/11, for instance.
Yeah.
Nobody saw Mothman then. And I think that was even worse than the other two, well, actually, with the exception of Chernobyl, because it did start a war that has been ongoing.
Well, you know, in defense of that, it is New York, so would anybody even notice Mothman could be just chilling on the subway, nobody would even look at him.
Better not.
I don't know what that situation is, but I'm just going to ignore it till I get to my stop. So Mothman might have been, you know, riding the 7 train or getting a hot dog at Yankee Stadium. People mind their own damn business over there, so that doesn't really prove anything.
You got me.
No, I'm saying.
Okay. Right, the evidence of absence is not the absence of evidence.
Correct.
Oh my goodness. In terms of, okay, as a lawyer,
Sure.
somebody came to you saying, hey, Carlos, I saw this black thing. Oh, I shouldn't say that. I saw this big, tall, moth-like, Batman-esque figure, and they want to report that to the police, but... So, what are the implications of coming out with this type of information? Are they liable for some kind of, I don't know, perjury
No.
of a statement?
No.
They can come out and say whatever they want.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, unless they can prove that you didn't actually see Mothman, but that's impossible to prove.
Because it's...
Because you're trying to prove a negative.
What is that called in lawyers' terms?
What do you mean?
Like, not being able to prove something out of circumstance.
Circumstantial evidence.
Oh, that's it?
Yeah.
Oh.
But there's no way to prove that you didn't see Mothman.
Okay, so when somebody comes out and...
I guess if they had somebody following you with a camera and, you know...
But even then, there's no way of charging you for being a liar, right?
But even then, you could just say Mothman is invisible to cameras. You know, there's no way to actually prove that you did not see Mothman. Or you could say, hey, I fell and I bumped my head and I must have imagined it. You know, there's no way to actually prove Mothman does not.
Yeah, I'm just trying to come up with any sort of... Or trying to figure out if there are any sort of deterrents for people to not come out and say anything about stuff they see.
Well, being treated like a crazy person is one.
Well, yeah.
And 2 is the Men in Black.
You don't tell me you actually think they're real.
I think the Men in Black are real.
And people, this is why the podcast has to work, because I don't believe this shit, and he really does.
What they are, you know, we don't know.
No.
I'm not saying that they're supernatural. I'm not saying anything, but I think there are people who dress in all black who go around to people who are alleged to have witnessed supernatural events.
It sounds like a publicity stunt. Like for a video game or a movie or something like that.
Like back in the 40s and in the 30s?
All the way back to the 40s?
They've been around for...
Oh my gosh.
As far as we've had reports of supernatural sightings, we have the Men in Black.
60s I would understand, because, you know, movies and TV shows were up back then,
Yeah.
and they had monster movies back then too. So that would kind of make sense, but in the 40s?
As far back as we have people
Before World War One or Two? I mean, before World War Two?
Yeah. So, I just think it'd be strange for everybody to lie and say, "Oh yeah, I saw these men in black come."
But people dress in black suits all the time. But not in a demeaning. I mean, not in a. But they don't approach people and.
Yeah, they don't approach people and interrogate them about.
Okay, so to clear that up, what exactly do they do to people? Do they just approach them and interrogate them and ask them not to do stuff? Do they give them an anesthetic, an amnestic or something?
The stories are kind of wide ranging, but for the most part, they show up, they interrogate you about what you saw, and then they do something to attempt to intimidate you into not talking about it any farther.
And how?
That's kind of the general framework.
But I don't think they enforce it because this stuff came out anyways, right? We know about it.
Yeah.
So what, do people just disappear after that, or has nothing happened?
There have been some abductions linked to the Men in Black. Well, not linked as in we can prove it, but where they allegedly took place. And the Men in Black, the stories kind of differ as to what their capabilities are.
So the Men in Black are more like an Illuminati type of group, where allegedly they are
Yes.
go extreme secrecy on whatever agenda they're working on. But this is the thing that makes me a little bit skeptical about the whole thing. Not a little bit, super skeptical. Supposedly they operate under extreme secrecy, but we still know about this stuff. If they really operated that tightly with this, why do we still know about the Mothman?
Because it was already reported before they got involved, for one. And for two, I think the idea that their function is to stop people from reporting on this stuff
Period.
is just an assumption that their whole goal is to stop people from talking about supernatural events. We don't know what their goal is. We don't know why they exist.
So maybe their shtick is
Maybe they're trying to spread the word of supernatural events.
as
know?
just that, strictly supernatural or strictly legend, but not actual things.
Yeah. And hey, when you hear about the Mothman, and then you think, oh, that's BS, and then you hear that man in black suits came and visited and tried to intimidate you, and they're not talking about it. That gives a little bit more credibility to it. Like, why are these men coming around telling people to shut the hell up if it doesn't actually exist?
Oh, I see.
So that could be at play too. I mean, we just don't know anything about them other than...
Well, that would make sense because right now we're discussing this as a possibility, but there's still that line of ambiguity in it that makes it not credible.
Yeah.
And therefore maintaining the secrecy and the safety of the entire discussion in their terms.
And if there are any men in black out there listening to this, you probably already know our names and where we were recording this. So
yeah, you can probably backtrack our voices.
I would be happy to join whatever you guys got going on. I think I would make a pretty good man in black.
Don't you have to like? Yeah, actually, he would. He really he has the face for it. He has the. Carlito is a very handsome man.
I would say, don't tell anybody about what you saw, or we will kill you.
Or we will kill you. I wouldn't make a very good man in black. I
think you'd make a good man in black.
You think so?
Yeah.
I mean, I can keep secrets really well. It's just. I mean, but living with that, I can't imagine living in a society where you are living under constant secrecy to the point of discussing this even within your partners.
Well, we're assuming that they live in society and that they're human.
Oh, they're just like double agents to humans, period.
They might not be human. I mean, some people have reported them as acting quite strangely or oddly.
This sounds like a topic for a whole nother podcast then. And I think it's good. I'm gonna read up a little bit on this.
What if they're skinwalkers?
Plug for another installment of the podcast. All right, Mothman. Back to Mothman. So what I was trying to say with all of this stuff is it possible that the Mothman is actually an agent of the Men in Black?
It's certainly possible. We know nothing about what motivates them. About what
well, in terms that they are kind of released it to see what happens and what it could do. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that plays into my theory about Mothman being an agent for the KGB.
But the Okay, so are the Men in Black associated with the KGB?
No.
Fuck.
So, final weigh-in. Mothman, real or not real?
No, not real.
I'm going to have to go with not real as well.
What?
I know I'm supposed to be... I know you're kind of the skeptic here, but...
You're also skeptical
I'm
about
also
this
a
one?
skeptic about Mothman on this one. I guess it depends on what your definition of the word real is. Did people see him? Possibly.
Possibly.
Does he exist?
Maybe. Not likely.
It's certainly possible that people saw him, but he does not exist. They saw something that they think is Mothman that tricked their brains that they are generally being real when they say, yes, I saw Mothman. But they didn't actually see
If
him.
somebody told me that this was just an alien, right?
Yeah.
I would believe that more than somebody saying that this is a creature that is cognito hazard or premonition antecedent. You know what I mean?
I mean, as a cryptid, it's certainly plausible that some sort of a giant moth or bat inhabits the
woods of
the
Point
coal
Pleasant.
mines in the area and comes out from time to time. That's not completely out of the realm of possibility.
Dude, maybe Mothy, that's what I'm gonna call Mothman, came out one day. He was just strolling around the woods. These two couples come up in the car, see him. He gets spooked in the headlights like a deer, and remembers that he has two little mothies in his little cave, and said, I gotta defend my territory, and starts chasing after these people, scaring the hell out of them. And after that, he's just been extremely aggressive towards people.
Yeah.
If the same artist that is making the fan art, can you add a couple little mothies in there? I want to see a couple little Mothman or moth children, if you will. I think that's really cute too.
Yeah.
I imagine him like a big owl, just waddling when it's not flying, and then when it takes flight, like it actually turns into a terrifying creature. But on the ground, it just looks slow and slumpy. That's so cute. But anyways, yeah. I want to believe this stuff. I really do. But it's like it's the same thing with ghosts and with spirits. If I hear a creak in my house, I don't immediately think ghost. I think possibly a murderer. You know what I mean? I'm more terrified of people than I am of alleged cryptids. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
What is so when did you hear about the Mothman at first? Did you read about him? Did somebody tell you?
No, I'm not sure. I think in a way, Mothman has always been with me.
Mothman has always been with me.
Can't really point to an exact point in time.
So you just always knew.
Yeah.
Dude, maybe you're affiliated with Mothy.
Maybe I am Mothman in human garb.
You're not that tall.
Well, maybe Mothman is a...
This is turning into a real Batman scenario, people. Where instead of Bruce Wayne, we have Carlito, the Jackal. This is actually, kind of freeing. I feel relaxed at this very moment.
Yeah, it's good to sit down, shoot the breeze.
Drink some beers.
Yeah. Think about various real or maybe not real beings.
Right. Oh, before we move on, I do want to say, I want to talk about premonitions because that seems to be a major part of the Mothman's lore, if you will. So premonitions, if I get this correct, is being able to see something before it occurs.
Yeah.
Giving you the chance to act in a manner that is opposing to.
Yeah.
Is deja vu... No, deja vu is feeling that you have relived this moment before.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Has anybody actually documented an experience with premonitions that you know of? Like, is this something that actually occurs? Being able to see something ahead of time, quote unquote. Have people said that they can't do that?
You mean, are there psychics, or are there people who claim to be psychics?
Are psychics supposed to be
able to tell the future? Yeah.
but strictly as premonitions, not only as fortune telling, because fortune telling is not the same as a premonition. A premonition is a warning about something to come.
Yeah.
And fortune telling is literally picking out specific things to tell you ahead of time what that is going to be, regardless of it being harmful or not.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, at least
I
that's
know
how I
that
interpret
a lot of psychics claim to have premonitions about various events,
including fortune telling.
Yeah.
So yeah, basically, no, it's bullshit.
Well, people claim to have premonitions. Is it real? Is it not real? Probably not.
But you've never experienced a situation in your life when you have thought about something.
I've never.
You had a
premonition.
feeling that something was going to happen, and then you avoided it.
I've never had a premonition.
Okay. So yeah, still, Mothman 0, Poppers 1. Just kidding, Mothy. We love you. There is a going back to the Blackbird of Chernobyl.
Mm-hmm.
Does the Blackbird have red eyes too?
Yeah. They're reported as a lot of the same things people report: the Blackbird, and the Mothman. They're very similar.
Okay, something tells me that as this podcast goes on, we're gonna see the Mothman just reappearing in different stories.
Yeah.
And whatnot, because he seems to be kind of like that one character that is just applicable to every situation.
And if anybody out there has any actual experience with the Mothman, please, don't hesitate to send us an email, leave a comment, and down below. Yeah,
our email is the ogdpoppers@gmail.com, and you can stay anonymous. We're really good at keeping secrets. I mean, we have a lawyer over here, and I'm an engineer. All I do is talk to machines, anyways. So I think you're gonna be fine. But we are wondering if any of you listeners have any experience whatsoever with the real Mothman, and we're really good at sniffing out lies. So don't you dare fabricate a story. Wink, wink. We love a good story, actually. What is your perception then on the movie, the Mothman? What is the movie called? Mothman Chronicles. Yeah.
I've never seen it, so I couldn't tell you.
I've never seen it either, actually, but it has Richard Gere in it.
Yeah.
Go support Richard Gere. Amazing actor, amazing hair. Would bang if I was gay, but I'm not, unfortunately. So, verdict.
Poppers 1, Mothman 0 for now.
You agree too?
I agree.
But there's 2 Poppers here, so it's going to be Poppers 2, Mothman 1, or...
But together we are the Poppers.
Oh, together we are the Poppers? Okay. So, I think this is going to be it for now. I think it took... How much time did we just cover?
I don't know, about an hour, I think.
About an hour?
So, don't forget to hit that like button.
And so
I've always wanted to say that.
And subscribe if you are dying to sponsor us, because we are such eclectic material. Send us an email, ogdpoppers@gmail.com. We have mouths to feed, houses to upkeep, and very expensive leisurely activities to accommodate for. Also, we love reading, and if any of you want to make a story, or any of you have stories for us to revise and maybe even tell during the podcast and discuss, we're more than willing to do that. Oh, we should do that.
Yeah, like a call-in show.
Yeah, like a call-in show, but also maybe download or have stories of cryptid sightings, and then we discuss them both in an academic setting and in a personal setting.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Definitely.
Awesome. All right. So it's set. The channel has just began. Hold on to your breeches, because it's just about to get better. All right.
See you guys next week.
All right.
Hopefully.
And